All right. Feels good to be back once again. Another episode of Tick Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox. Oh man, listen, I've been playing Mass Effect, and I have a lot of things to say about this game. I really do have a lot of things to say about this game, but I'm going to wait before I delve deep into everything and really get into the gist of what's happening with Mass Effect and stuff like that. If you're checking out the channel right now, this is our website. Right before we start the show for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and try to promote the website as much as I can so people can get a taste of what type of content you can expect of TICGN. Very proud of the team and everything. And I got a few announcements to make, some new members and some new content that we'll be promoting as well. So I'm really excited about that and get a chance to talk about that as well. So that'll be pretty dope. All right. What are you guys playing? What have you been playing, B? You just been taking care of the family?
Yeah, man, I really haven't had a chance to play too much. Picked up the Switch when it released, so I've been playing Zelda, but that and Horizon Zero Dawn is pretty much all I've been playing when I had the chance to play. Man, everybody's been sick in my house, all my kids, my pregnant wife, so trying to make sure everybody's good. You know what I mean? My kids have missed school and whatnot, so it's been a rough 10 days or so for me. So I haven't really had a chance to play much anything.
Gotcha. What about you, Anchor?
Man, I've been playing that Mass Effect. I don't know about you guys, but I've been enjoying it. I've been having a good time. I don't know why you guys having problems, but that's just me though.
Dude, you were literally complaining less than a few hours ago, or shall I say
The character creation system is BS. I totally admit that, but when you start playing the game and you get into it, it's like Mass Effect.
I don't know. Maybe I haven't played Mass Effect in a long time, but
now I just played them, so it's fresh in my mind, and I don't have the nostalgia factor for it, so I didn't have like the time to just be like, oh man, for the idea of Andromeda to percolate about what it's going to be. It's like okay, I just played it. I know exactly what it's going to be like. And I went in there. I was like, yep, that's exactly what I was looking at.
Okay. That's what's up. All right, so let's go ahead and start the show. We're going to go ahead and do our intros and begin. So here we go. Thank you for listening to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox One. I'm your host, KLWarXKLL, and with B Money 101.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And Anchorman V.
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing tonight?
We are your Inner Circle team. Man, tonight we got a ton of things to touch on, ton of things to talk about. A lot of stuff happening with PlayStation, man. I got to touch on some PlayStation stuff. B hasn't been around to talk about this PlayStation stuff. This has been a crazy week. So we'll definitely touch on some of those things. Mass Effect will be first up. We'll talk about some new features that the website has reported on just news in general. And we'll talk a little bit of Xbox. Xbox is 4K everything. 4K card. 4K everything. That's what they're doing. So we'll talk about that as well. And let's see how it all works out. So I started playing Mass Effect, the 10-hour trial with EA Access. And, when the character customization to me wasn't as bad as Anchorman made it out to be. I don't know. I don't know why Anchorman was so upset about it. We happened to be in a party just chatting about it, and he was talking about the character customization, and he felt it was BS. And once I got into the game, at first I felt the same way because I think in the original Mass Effect, you could mess with the character's face to the point that you could adjust things, but it wasn't on a scale. It wasn't on a scale before. It was more of like you would just kind of like NBA 2K it, where you just lift the cheekbones and you're like going to different areas and you're moving the analog sticks around to adjust what you want. I think I can't remember. But in this one, it seemed like you were sort of limited to what you can do to the face.
Sliders, slider style.
But here's the
was
thing,
it more like Destiny style?
I would say the overall character customization experience is very similar to Destiny. You pick your archetype kind of face. You're like, okay, you've been male or female. And that's like, okay, you got 10 preset heads to pick from, and then you get like some sliders for it. That's kind of it. It's really not that in depth. I mean, let's put it this way: if it were any other game, it'd be like, yeah, you got character customization, but this is very, very limited.
I don't know, man. I picked the ugliest black guy you can pick because, but just because of the simple fact that like I couldn't get the skin tone that I wanted. Like if I picked the white character whose face was decent enough to where I can really manipulate it, and I made his skin tone darker, it wasn't dark enough. So picking a black character kind of hovered around the skin tone that I was looking for, and this guy, the character's ugly. I think he was number 8. I think he was like number 8. And this guy, he's just terrible. Just I don't even know what these developers think of when they think of black people. Every time I see black people in games, the default characters be so ugly, bro. It's just horrendous. I just feel like embarrassed. But so I take the character and I start manipulating his face and stuff. And then by the time I got to the end, he was looking pretty dope. I always give my guy, like every character that I make, you know, I always give them green eyes. I don't know what it is about me with green eyes, but I love the color, especially when I make my characters, because usually they're either of darker skin or darker tone, unless I'm playing a Khajiit in Elder Scrolls or something like that, then, you know, that's a different story. But most of the time, I usually give them green eyes. So he has his green eyes and stuff. And then what's crazy is they give you the opportunity to build your twin and your likeness, which caught me by surprise because I didn't even know you had a twin in the game that you had to worry about. So making her, because I normally don't make female characters, was actually pretty fun because you get to mess with her in the fact that she has like makeup and stuff like that, and like some of the makeup was kind of dope the way it was designed. It was more tattoo-ish than it was makeup. You know what I'm saying? So I started manipulating with that and stuff like that, and I wound up making this really cool looking character and started the game. But I thought that part of the game was crazy. Anchor, what was making you so upset about that part?
All right. So here's the thing. Keep in mind, I'm coming from Fallout, which has the best character creation ever. No doubt you can get so specific. I've seen recreations of Walter White, Geralt of Rivia, Lex Luthor. I've seen some of the craziest recreations. I've seen Kanye. Someone actually made a realistic-looking Kanye West in the game. And it's so you can tweak little stuff, you can do big things. It's I love that so much. But going to Andromeda in particular, it is very limited. And the thing that pisses me off the most is when you go to Scars and Burns or really anything else, it's just spray on textures. That's all it is. It's not. There's no like actual depth to anything. Like if you want to have a scar over your eye or something, it's literally just a little spray paint thing they put on there.
I don't know. I think
same thing for beards. It's the same thing for beards. There's no texture to it. If you zoom in, it's literally just a layer of paint over your character.
I don't know, man. Because when I was looking at the hair, I mean, it is definitely not deep in the texture aspect. I give you that much. But when I put the scar on my character, matter of fact, I'm gonna try to bring my character up right now if I can. When I put the scar on my character, what wound up happening was I wind up like making the intensity of the scar and just going full blown all the way. And you can see the imprint of the scar. Like you can see it deep embedded into his skin. I don't know if you mess with that part to show the scars.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's still just a spray on texture. Like I'll send you a picture on Twitter of my character. Like I worked at it. I spent about a good 45 minutes on it. I spent a good long time on it. And I was very disappointed with how it turned out. And I think the big thing that pisses me off about it, as a general thing, when you make a character in the character selection, you can make a pretty good looking person in there, but whenever you take them to the game, it just looks weird. It doesn't fit right. It looks really odd. This is kind of nitpicky stuff. I'm really into that kind of stuff. I really like seeing how crazy can we get. I want to make my character look semi-realistic.
Oh, this is terrible. What is happening with this game? I mean, with this thing right now. Let me see. I think I shared it with my boy. Will they show me the content? Look at that. Let me see. I don't know if it'll show it on my laptop.
Give it a moment. What I go to xboxdvr.com and type in your gamer tag. That's been pretty consistent for me.
It's not a big deal. But anyway, the make a long story short, I thought that it was really, I thought it wasn't that bad, honestly. When I'm making my character, I thought he looked really cool. Gave him white hair. I couldn't decide on hair because all the hair colors were just kind of weird. It wasn't weird, but it just wasn't for me. But I wound up going with white hair. Everybody started cracking jokes immediately as soon as I posted it, calling him Cisco in space. It was it was out of control for a bit, but it's all good. But I cracked up at that comment. But long story short, man, I wound up playing the game, and as I got into the game, here's where everything started to go wrong for me. First of all, I just felt like the momentum of the character is too much. I feel like when I walk, or if I run, or even if I trot, my momentum is always taking me further than I want to go. Even when I'm stopping or even when I'm slowing down, I'm always going that way. I've never felt like that in Mass Effect. I've always felt like in Mass Effect, I can get to a spot and stop and not have to be like, okay, I might go past that spot when I'm stopping. It just, for some reason, I just felt that way. One of my issues is that it feels clunky and it feels heavy when swinging your weapon and aiming. So like swinging left to right, it just feels weighted for some reason. Like it doesn't take a long time to swing the reticle, but it just feels heavy. Like I'm putting in way too much effort to aim. And then on top of that, it feels clunky when I'm trying to scale stuff, jumping, or trying to get behind cover. I always feel like I get stuck on stuff, or I don't get behind the cover right. And it's not that I don't know how to do it, because the cover is similar to Quantum Break. You walk up to something, you kind of duck behind it, you pull away, and you back off. But there's instances where I've walked up the cover and just moved a little bit, and it'll back me off the cover, and I'll stand up and get shot up, or I'll walk over to cover and there may be some debris in the way and I don't attach myself. So it becomes kind of frustrating in that way, especially when you have enemies coming at you, animals are coming at you, and you're taking cover and trying to protect yourself and play the game and actually see. So it was a bit frustrating for me. Overall, though, it feels like Mass Effect, but, the music isn't there. Mass Effect's music was so amazing. The music in this game almost feels like Elder Scrolls, honestly, with the trumpets and stuff like that. I was really looking for that Mass Effect tech, that sci-fi feel when you played Mass Effect in the original. And I think even somebody on Twitter had said something similar. Captain Steve has said something like that as well. So it's definitely different. It's not your grandfather's Mass Effect. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm not saying it's not a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. That's not what I'm saying. I haven't played the game fully, but just based on what I've experienced early, it's been something that has made me kind of decide not to get it day one, honestly. And I still have time to play with EA Access, so I'm going to play it some more before I give a final judgment. But you can say it's nitpicking, you can say it's minor, but when you're playing the game and you're in combat and you're trying to do the things that you want to do, and those little things constantly interrupt you, it becomes really annoying very fast. It really does. So it's a very frustrating thing.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I linked both you guys for you see my character out there. That was spending about 45 minutes making that character.
I bet.
I kept having to restart because when you look at the character in engine, like in the game, it looks so weird. It does not look like what you made whenever you said when you did the character creation. It just doesn't look like it.
Yeah, your beard definitely looks like it's like spray painted.
It is spray painted.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's no depth options. Like
That's funny.
Like,
well, I don't know, man. Some people said that it wasn't. I've been seeing some things here and there about how the game doesn't look as good, or there's a lot of bugs in the game already. I've been seeing all the memes, people cracking jokes on it. It's just a case where I don't know if BioWare is the BioWare that we're used to. You know, Casey Hudson's not there. He's with Microsoft, who was an amazing writer. If you guys don't know who Casey Hudson is, I've said this before. He wrote the original Mass Effect trilogy as well as Knights of the Old Republic for the OG Xbox. And he's working for Xbox right now. But the thing is, he's not I don't know if he's working on any actual games for the Xbox. He's working on something, but it's HoloLens related. And that's the part that's kind of frustrating to me. Because you have this talented person on your team, and it just feels like you're not utilizing him properly, knowing that you really need talented writers for more in-depth story for a lot of your single-player experiences, and having a guy like Casey Hudson on your team. And I truly hope that Scorpio has something where he's the guy that's been working on the game, and the story is his, because he's just great. I really hope that he's able to be working on a game for Scorpio, and hopefully we'll be able to see whatever this new titles are at E3. But to me, it just doesn't, right now, as early as it is in the game, for me, it doesn't feel like Mass Effect just yet. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's my opinion. I know a lot of people might not like it, but that's just how I feel personally.
it feels a lot like Mass Effect 1 to me, where it's like, hey, you start the game, now go out, do your mission, get out of here.
Right.
There's no build up to it. It's just kind of like, get out of here.
That's funny. That's funny. What was really cool in the game was when they said your dad is coming on, and the guy was black. Because my character was black. Like, my character is a dark-skinned character, and the sister is dark-skinned. So when he showed up, and he looked like Billy D. Williams for a second. He was black with like salt and pepper hair with the slick back and went back. I was like, yo, this is dope. He had the same color eyes as me and everything. I was like, this is fire.
And you got Lex Luthor as the voice.
Yeah, it was dope. It was, I ain't gonna lie, that one scene that caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that. That was pretty dope. And BioWare thought ahead on that. So that was pretty dope. But yeah, man, I got to play more of the game before I can truly give it a true assessment. I'm just early on griping about it because, your expectations are always high for the studio that you really, really love, like your number one studio. BioWare has always been my number one studio since I played KOTOR. Used to be Square Enix. Oh, used to be Square, not Square Enix. Used to just be Square. And then it became BioWare. But if they don't live up to your expectations, or it doesn't feel familiar, then you kind of get disappointed. And I kind of understand how maybe the original guys who played Gears or the original guys who played Halo may feel, because they're so used to playing Halo a certain way or playing Gears a certain way. And when those things change, they have to adapt. And it's hard to adapt when you're so used to something that you thought or felt was so great at the time. So it's just something I probably have to adapt to. And after a while I get used to it, I think I'll come around and start to like the game. But you can't take away the bugs and issues that's in the game. I mean, it's all over the internet. There's literally a meme of people crab walking in the game. It's crazy.
And that's the thing that like kind of scares me, because like I haven't had a chance to touch the game yet. Just been busy with work and whatnot. But just scrolling through Twitter and I see like the different animation problems with the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I know like since you guys are playing on EA Access, this is basically the full game. And we know there could be a patch or something like that day one, but
there is a patch. They've already confirmed there's a patch, but it's not going to be affecting the animations.
Yeah, like and that's the thing that scares me, because I feel like we've been built up to have so much passion for this game, and for it to not live up to the hype is kind of disappointing. So I'm still probably going to pick it up day one, but I'm definitely tempered my expectations for the game just by seeing some of the stuff that I've seen.
Right.
And I'll say this, and I know as the Bethesda fanboy, it's going to come off wrong, but I'm going to be honest. I think they tried to pull a Fallout 4 here, and I think it's kind of backfiring a little bit because what they did was they were really secretive about it, and when they announced it, then they started showing some stuff off pretty quickly, and here it is. It's like, all right, here we go. They did it real quick, and now it's like, all right, now people are playing it. It's like,
it's crazy. Hey, if you're looking at the screen right now, this is our Nintendo Switch giveaway. We have 80,000 entries. This is insane. I didn't even know we had this many entries. There are 16 days left to try to win a Nintendo Switch from the Inner Circle Game Network. If you guys want to sign up, head over to ticgn.com, follow the rules, get yourself logged in, get your points, and try to win a Nintendo Switch if you're interested in one. We already gave away an Xbox One S console, and now we're giving away a Nintendo Switch. Who knows what we'll give away next? We'll see in the coming months. But listen, we are doing it big at the Inner Circle, and that's thanks to all of you guys, and we're very appreciative for that. So make sure you head on over there to sign up for the Nintendo Switch giveaway. Yeah. So, yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and move forward from Mass Effect. I'm definitely going to try to make the show short. So if there's any questions you guys want to ask, we haven't had a Q&A in a very long time, and B is here. So I would like to do that, if possible, without going into the AM hour or the 1 AM hour, shall I say. So again, check out ticgn.com. We cover everything. I just want to very quickly talk about the new additions to the team. We now have Rand Althor. Some of you guys know Rand Althor from TXR Podcast. He will be joining the TICGN team, bringing over his indie game content to the website and doing a special thing where he recommends the top indie games that you could pick up on Xbox One, followed with Nicodemus X, our PlayStation affiliate who runs the Trophy Life podcast. He will be doing the same thing, giving you the top indies that you could pick up on the PlayStation, and those will be hitting the website soon. So if you want to see gameplay of these things, you want to hear their opinions on it, you'll be able to check it out here, as well as Too Much Food. If you ever follow Too Much Food, he's a podcaster, used to do a lot of Xbox stuff. Now he has a new show called Switch Play, and we have the exclusive rights to his Switch Play content, and he is now part of TICGN as well. So for you Nintendo guys out there, we will have a great Nintendo segment. I don't know how often it'll pop up, but we'll have a great Nintendo segment for you guys with Rand, Nick, and Too Much Food. Chris, shall I say. We have just brought in some great talented people, and we're going to continue to produce great content for you guys. So I want to thank you all for the support, because we have been killing it in 2017. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down and jump into more Xbox content. So moving on. All right. So wind up hearing about the whole 4K thing with Microsoft. Shout out to Jez, who did a great article on some behind the scenes stuff when it comes to 4K for Xbox Scorpio. And one of the things he talked about was how his sources have stated that Xbox is going to get 4K DVR support. So all the videos will be recorded in 4K, and you'll get images in 4K, and everything will be shot at 60 frames per second. And that's really cool. That's really dope on their part. Microsoft is really setting up to just do 4K everything. They're really trying to really stick with the words true 4K. I still think to this day that is just a terrible pun to use, because you don't want to be associated with saying true 4K and then your stuff really isn't true 4K. You start coming out with sparse rendering or checkerboard rendering, and it's not a good look for the team. But having 4K, they actually have 4K 60 frames per second DVR. So that's telling you they are really putting all their eggs in this one basket, and they're coming hard for the competition. And people should be really impressed with it. What do you guys think about this? Like the whole 4K dynamic thing. Do you think it's wise for Microsoft to continue to push the true 4K dynamic?
I think a lot of it depends on how when the system comes out. If it comes out and it delivers on the 4K and it actually has maybe a little more power than we're expecting, I mean, because the whole thing about Phil is he's always been saying, "Hey, what was it? Under promise, over deliver." So the only things we do know is 6 teraflops and yada yada yada. I mean, if they can prove that, like, hey, every game that we have coming out can run 4K, and there's really no excuse for it not to be 4K. But if you choose not to have it 4K, that's up to you. But there's still the option. Then I think them putting all their eggs in one basket's fine. We just at this point we just don't know, and we really need something going on so we can tell. Like it's just quiet.
I mean, I think the 4K stuff is pretty dope. You know what I mean? Like to be able to have your recordings done in 4K, 60 frames per second. Like there's nobody out there that's doing that, and it's hard to find a lot of 4K content. So if you can have your own recordings with that content and be able to put it up on YouTube, like that stuff is dope. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's truly wise if they can't live up to that, to delivering true 4K, but I think if they can get damn near close, I think people will overlook it. You know what I mean? If it's not true 4K and kind of just roll with it. If it's the best looking stuff out there, then they'll be okay.
I mean, listen, people still think this thing is going to be $399. I don't know what's wrong with Anchorman and his people, but they really need to stop because this thing is going to come out at $499. Probably the minimum price. Maximum price will probably be $599. Like if you're not listening to what these people are doing, it's right in front of your face. A 4K DVR playback with 60 frames per second, picking up that at 4K. That's better than any Elgato on the market.
Yep.
That's better than any Elgato on the market, bro. At this point. You know what I'm saying? They're really trying to go all out with this platform. And I'll be honest with you. I have a 4K TV. I have the PS4 Pro. I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I think it's a beautiful game. I'm not overly impressed with the player models. Don't get me wrong. I do love the facial animations. I said this before. But I don't know if 4K does it for me. Like, honestly, whether that's checkerboard, upscaled, whatever it is, it looks great. But I don't know if looking at it in 4K and looking at it in 1080p is significantly that much of a difference to where you're going to waste all that power going to 4K. Because the more, like literally, I have an Xbox One S. My Xbox One S, I've moved over to, because I only have one 480. I only have one 4K out on my TV. So the PS4 Pro's on the 4K out. I moved the Xbox One S over to 1080p. Being that the PS4 Pro can possibly do 4K native. But the thing is that from what I've been seeing between the two, 1080 with the Xbox and 4K with the Pro, I'm not really seeing a significant difference or a significant improvement to the point that I'm like, wow, it's really that serious. Now, if Scorpio comes out and everything is native 4K and it really shows us the difference between sparse rendering or checkerboard rendering or whatever it is they want to do and actually show native 4K games with 4K textures, I think that's the biggest difference. If they're going for 4K textures, that's the biggest difference. But I don't know if they're going to do that. We have people saying that, but when we had Albert Pernillo on the show, he always talked about at the same fidelity of the games we're playing today.
Right. So
that doesn't say anything about 4K textures. That's not what we're playing today. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just weird. It's a very slippy slope right now with, the wording and what they're going to deliver. I do know whatever they deliver is going to be an amazing console and it's going to be a day one buy for me because I love new technology. I love Xbox and I know whatever they put out is going to be great. And it's going to be the most powerful console ever created as well. But I just don't know 4K is worth it if you're not going to add 4K textures. You know what I'm saying? Especially if the price exceeds 600, then I don't know if it actually is worth it, because you're just way out of anybody's price range, even the hardcore. You know, people are already going to spend $1,000 on a TV. You want them to spend almost another, half of, or more than half of $1,000 on, or less than half within $1,000 on a new console when they already have one. Because you're trying to appeal to the Xbox fans. It's not for everybody. It's mainly for the hardcore.
Yeah, but didn't they also come out and say about just trying to remember here. I was pretty sure there was a thing that came out around late last week saying that actually you wouldn't need a 4K TV to appreciate it, that there is going to be some 1080p upgrades.
They did say that. They said that if you have a 1080p TV, that you will see a difference in the game. There'll be improvements and stuff like that. But I mean, what happens if it's in 4K?
Yeah, like how much improvement would you get? You know what I mean? Even though they say there's improvements for 1080p, like if you're already seeing a 1080p image, how much better is that 1080p image? You know what I mean? For that price, you know what I mean? So if you're paying another $500, is it really worth it to you to get a slightly better image? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think people are planning in terms of just using it that way. I think it'd be more like, hey, buy your Scorpio while you're waiting to start going into the 4K craze. You can still enjoy it a little bit. Like, I don't know, there's options there.
Definitely is.
I feel like if you come out with something in 1080p and they're allowing you to improve the graphic fidelity of the game at 1080p, but you can improve the resolution and the clarity at 4K, most people will go for 1080p. And then it defeats the purpose of having a console at 4K if everybody's playing at 1080p, because the graphics and everything looks better at 1080. I wonder about that. There's still a lot of things we don't know about the platform. We're just getting little bits and pieces and stuff like that. There's a lot of things we don't know. I'm looking forward to them finally coming out with this console and talking about it. Based on what we do know and the information we do have, it is going to be a premium device. It does sound expensive. It's not going to be for everybody. Phil already said that. And it's really going to just be looking at the guys out there who want to really have the best of the best hardware. You got the best TV, the best audio surround sound, and now you have the most powerful console on the market to complement that. That's really what they're trying to go for. I don't think people understand that. PlayStation guys and some Xbox guys feel like they need to lower the price to hit mass market. That's not what this console is. It's not for the mass market. It's actually for a very niche player base, and people don't get that. It's really for a niche player base. It's not for everybody. Over time, sure, when the price drops, but initially, it's not. It's for the niche and the people who have the money and the people who are really into that high tech, expensive, type of equipment to entertain themselves, and that's what Phil's going for. The same way everybody didn't have to buy a Elite controller for $200 or $150 or whatever it was. It's the same way. You don't have to spend $150 on a controller, but you had 1 million people go out and do it. So there's a good chance that you'll have a good chunk of people go out and do it, but they don't expect it to take over the sales of Xbox One S or OG Xbox at all. So I think people should lower their expectations, and I don't think that will happen anyway at all. Listen, we got 25 people in here watching. Very grateful for you guys stopping in tonight. Please give us a thumbs up. Really appreciate the share and the like out to all your social media networks and stuff like that. Very grateful for the support as always on this late show. Moving forward, Microsoft introduced a new feature. If you guys didn't know, I don't know if you heard about this, B. They introduced a new feature where they will have text chat in every single one of their games from now on. So it will be built into the game, not into the game, like built into the game itself. That way, if you don't have a mic, you can still communicate to people via text in game.
Okay.
No excuses now. No excuses.
Right. So like if you're playing a game and you're with some randoms and stuff like that, you can actually text instead of texting the person individually, sending them in a message. You can actually text them in the game, and a little box will pop up and I guess let them know what's happening or who you're talking to or whatever. And that reminds me of like old school Xbox, where parties used to be game centric. You know what I'm saying? Before we really got Xbox Live parties on the OG Xbox, you would have a party, but the party was game centric and stuff like that. So it's just funny when I think about that. But that's another feature that Microsoft, they're just really good at adding smart, intuitive features that you really don't notice until you need it. And then you're like, wow, that's great. So-and-so should have this. You know what I'm saying? That's usually what normally happens. So a lot of people don't think Microsoft innovates. I think they really do innovate in a lot of things they do, especially software-wise. What do you think about this feature, Anchor?
Like I said before, I mean, I'm excited for it. There's no excuse anymore for me to play Rainbow Six Siege and you not to be able to tell me what's going on, who's gonna be coming after me. There are no excuses left.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big thing. I always just it's cool to see Microsoft do this in particular because it's just one of the things that always really annoyed me was people being content with the same old, same old. It has always been a big annoyance to me to see people be happy with that. I want to see things change. I want to see what people find what works, what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And to see people just sit and rest on their laurels kind of sucks. And so this is an opportunity to see, all right, well, let's try out something PC's got. Let's try out the text chat. And I want to see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea. Like, since the invention of parties on consoles, I mean, the whole chat feature has pretty much gone away as far as in-game chat. Like, you can go to pretty much any multiplayer game and, I mean, everybody's in the party. And you can be playing like Battlefield or Call of Duty or, Overwatch or wherever, your favorite multiplayer game is. And it's like you're trying to talk to your teammates, but like they're in a party, like you're in a party talking to your friends, and like the communication in the game is just broken down. So I think this is a smart way to kind of, bring that back. Back in the day, like Call of Duty, if you were in a party chat, like when the game started, they basically forced you to go in the game chat. And they kind of got away from that, I think, because I haven't played in a while. But that is something I would like to see come back to certain game modes on other games as well. If this game chat thing doesn't become as popular, like the text to chat thing, then I would love to see them to be able to like almost force people to play in game chat. You know what I mean, in certain modes. So, but this is a great idea. Hopefully, people actually use it, and it's something that they can expand on.
I actually heard that it was voice to text.
Okay.
Which would actually be much better. Like maybe you hit a button, you say some words. I think Cortana takes over and texts it to the chat, instead of you stopping in the middle of the game and actually typing. If they allow that, that's a huge difference. You're talking about time. You're talking about getting out alerts. There were times where in Arc, I'd be playing with my team and we'll be getting raided by somebody, or somebody would grab me and I have to alert my team, meaning I can't defend myself. I have to go into chat, type up whatever I can type up in the amount of time that I can type it. Hopefully I don't die, and send it off like, hey, I'm being attacked, or hey, we're being raided. I need help. And by the time I get out of that, I'm dead. They're robbing me, taking my stuff. You know what I'm saying? My base is being attacked. There's a lot of things that happens in that regard. So I think it'd be really dope if they allow the whole chat to text, where instead of me doing all of that, I could say, hey, or hey, Cortana, so-and-so is being attacked, and they'll just type it into the text box and send it right out to people. That'd be great. But again, this is very limited. It's only for the Xbox titles right now. Hopefully they can expand upon that going in the future, and use that across all titles and just make it a system feature instead of a game feature. I think that'd be pretty dope if they were able to do that somehow, some way. So, B, you weren't here we couldn't get your opinions on some of the things that happen over in the PlayStation camp. As you know, we normally don't really talk about PlayStation as much, but this is an Xbox podcast, and this has been a hot topic for the last week. We had a big show on it on the multiverse on Monday. Trophy Life podcast got around to talking about it as well. Basically, the PlayStation branch has come out and stated that they are going to put PlayStation 4 games on PS Now. And with them putting these games on PS Now, it now gives people an opportunity to play some of Sony's exclusives without actually owning the console. Now, for so many people, especially the Xbox fans that have been, getting ribbed and getting dissed and getting attacked over the last year and a half, this was just like, a karma moment, and they were able to retaliate in the worst possible way you can think of. And for the PlayStation fan or the guys who were all for and always going at the Xbox guy, it was damage control central. Literally just redefining what an exclusive is on the fly, almost on every show. But at the end of the day, regardless of all that, regardless of its time, regardless of all that, I don't see how this is a bad thing for Sony. I really don't. A lot of people are griping about it being 720p and only 30 frames per second, which I actually heard is 60 frames per second. But I think what Sony is doing, because they said that they've removed the apps from all these other devices, from PS3, from the Vita, from some like Sony televisions or whatever, and now you can only get it on a PlayStation 4 and a PC. And everyone is like, "Oh, why would you play those games at 720p at 30 frames per second?" But then I say to myself, if you're only going to play on PS4 and you're only going to play it on PC, right? The 720p 30 frames per second made sense when it was for the Sony Bravia TV, the Vita, and the PS3. But now you're talking about possibly they holding us to the chest, keeping us to the chest, that they've been able to improve the resolution of these games. Because none of the games that are out for PlayStation 4, at least the exclusives, none of them drop down to 720.
Right.
So why would you stream that in 720? You understand what I'm saying? I really think that they're going to announce that their streaming service now runs games at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and they're going to push that to the PC crowd. And that's why they removed everything that they did. I think they will have an EA service, the way EA does it. They will give you a trial. If you want it, you can buy the game. You click buy, it'll take you to the PlayStation Store, and you can start downloading the game from PS Now. Well, it takes you to the store from PS Now, not downloading the game from PS Now, the app, but it takes you to the store, a PlayStation Store from PS Now via link and transferring over. And then after about 6 months, you will get that exclusive title in the streaming service. And a lot of people don't think that's smart. They're like, Horizon Zero Dawn sold 2.6 million copies. Why would they all of a sudden put that streamer service out there? And I'm saying to myself, if you have a service that's paying you $20 a month, and you have a whole bunch of people paying you $20 a month, that $160 purchase is a stagnant purchase. That's a purchase that stops. You know what I'm saying? But if people are constantly paying into a service for an entire year to play these games and they're waiting for these games to come out, that is consistent money coming in. That's a consistent flow. That's more money than you're making with Horizon Zero Dawn if you can get the amount of people on PC to join. Because the people on PS4 are not going to play it because they already have a PS4. So really, it's all about the PC crowd and the casual crowd who maybe might not have a PlayStation 4 but can now stream some of the games on PC. What do you think about this?
Well, I think Sony has to play this whole streaming thing very safe. I think with the addition of having PS4 games to the service, it was a reactionary call out because of the Xbox Game Pass. Mm-hmm. So I felt like they probably talked to those same partnerships that they that Microsoft has with the third parties, and they were able to get PS4 games on the streaming service. But like I said, I think it's they got to play it safe in regards to the games that they put on the streaming service, just like Microsoft has to play it safe with the games they put on the Game Pass. You know what I mean? You can't like have a new release game 3 months, 6 months, maybe even 9 months on that service, you know, right away, because then it becomes a point where like people are just like, all right, well, I'll just wait. You know what I mean? Like I won't buy your game day one because I'll just wait. You know what I mean? There's so many people who just wait for like games with gold or like wait for like a sale as it is. You know what I mean? So if people can wait and never have to buy your games anymore, then they won't. You know what I mean? Like people have to understand like gamers are still some of the cheapest consumers that are out there. Like we pay a lot of money up front for the hardware, but just look at the game sales, look at the game companies that are no longer here. You know what I mean? So people aren't out there buying games as much as they used to. Everybody waits for the best deal, and that's when they jump in. In regards to like the whole streaming service and them improving and whatnot, I think that's a reactionary call to Microsoft signing on Beam.
Right.
Even though you know Microsoft isn't technically using it for game streaming, they will be using it in games. I think you know some of the improvements that we've heard over the last couple of months with Crackdown and that game trying to, you know, basically being on track now. There was a someone was streaming Killer Instinct on Beam just a couple of days ago with no latency. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Beam is the truth. And I think, you know, Sony had to kind of react to that as well. And you see them call out, you know what I mean, that they had to take it off other platforms, their TVs and PS3s and whatnot. So I think it was smart for them to try to retool it and try to provide the best service possible. Because they have to compete now. You know what I mean? When Microsoft comes out with Scorpio and they can say that you can buy Scorpio and have 100 games ready for you for $9.99. You know what I mean? Like Sony has to compete with that. So they got to be ready to have some ready for this fall to kind of combat that. And then as far as the whole exclusive thing, like for me, like even though Microsoft put their games on PC and Sony's kind of following suit, which I feel like they have to, I would almost hope that Microsoft and Sony get to a point where they just have an online store. You know what I mean? And you can just buy their games on their console or on PC and be able to play them anywhere and pretty much, you know, one day phase out Steam or get pretty close to it. But as far as the exclusive thing, like if you play on Xbox, you know what I mean, and you don't have a PS4, like the games are exclusive to PS4. And if you play on the PS4 and you don't have an Xbox, guess what? Those games are exclusive to Xbox. Like everybody gets so tied up in like, oh, the games aren't exclusive or this is exclusive, that is exclusive. Like, yeah, the games are on PC. It's cool. But if you don't play on PC, guess what? You can't play them anyway.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I never really understood that argument. You know what I mean? If you play on multiple consoles, then you have the best of every console. But if you only play on one, you know what I mean? You are only allowed to play those games. And other games are deemed exclusive to the other console because you don't have access to them. So,
Right.
you know what I mean? The exclusive thing, it really isn't a big deal to me. You know what I mean? But for some people it is, and, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? I think at some point every game is going to be on PC just because like production values, they're just way too high. You know what I mean? Like we know Halo costs, you know, millions of dollars to make. You know what I mean? Gears cost millions of dollars to make. You know what I mean? And if they're only, you know, selling 5 million and not doing 8 million, 11 million like they used to, you know what I mean? They got to get that money back somewhere else. So if they can, you know, increase the revenue, then why not? You know what I mean? More people playing the game is more money in their pocket, and that's just business 101. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm good with it either way.
Yeah.
Anchor?
I mean, I don't have way too much to add to that. I mean, because we already kind of went into the last episode. I mean, also just thinking about just logically, hey, how many copies of Street Fighter V are you selling now?
Right.
Not much, if any. I mean, or how many copies of and maybe not Uncharted 4, but I don't know, NBA The Show, like basically, you have all these little exclusive games that either fizzle out fairly quickly, or after their first 6 months, they're not really bringing any real sales in. And if you say, hey, you put on the PlayStation Now service, you have a ton of people who are suddenly interested in this game again.
It's crazy. Shout out to LM Beck in our chat. He made a very smart point. And what you said, B, also made me think about something as well. Beck says if you could stream PS4 games on PS3, no one would buy a PS4 anymore. And that's why they took it off of PS3, because they were going to put the PS4 games on there. Again, you don't need some type of specialized hardware to play these games because these things are being streamed. Right. Other than whatever you're using as a screen for resolution. But for the most part, these games are being streamed. They're coming from a server farm, which is called Gaikai, that is emulating PlayStation 4s. You don't need a PS4 to play it. So in that regard, that's logical. That actually makes a lot of sense. And then what you said was that they need to combat the Game Pass with Scorpio at the end of the year. And a lot of people talk about how you're not going to get new games on there. I would not be surprised if they put Horizon Zero Dawn on that bad boy in November, to compete. You put Nier Automata, Horizon Zero Dawn, you put Uncharted 4, you put every exclusive you got on that service come the holiday season, and you push that. You get the first month of PS Now free on your PS4 for $20. You get access to all these exclusives. You have Xbox out here talking about for $99. I mean, for $9.99 a month with Scorpio, by the way, which actually improves those games as well. You get over 100 games a month for $9.99 a month. If you tell a parent that, and I said this before, you tell any parent that, they come to you, hey, what should I get? Well, you can pick up this PlayStation 4, but you can buy all the games. All the games are exclusive. You can play those games right now. But let's just say, for example, PS Now doesn't have all the exclusives that a lot of the fans say. It's going to take a year or it's going to take 2 years. Let's just say that automatically loses value. Why? Because 90% of the games are already on PC. Most of the multiplats are already on PC, and damn near every single indie game is on PC. So you eliminate a good, small percentage of exclusives from that, then you basically just have what you have on PC. That defeats the purpose of the service. Now, someone goes in to buy an Xbox, you tell a parent, parents don't know about exclusives. You tell a parent, hey, you can get this Xbox for, especially an Xbox One S, for $250, and for $10 a month, you can have 100 games for your child to play. All the parents going to think is, I don't have to buy no games ever. That's all they're going to think about as a parent.
I'm like, oh, little Jimmy got a brother. Let me get an extra controller.
Yeah, let me get an extra controller.
I ain't got to say nothing to them.
That's
for 2 months.
That's what I'm saying. So if I'm a PlayStation guy, I would want PlayStation to put those exclusives on PS Now, especially if you're a diehard and you're always talking about sales and you want the console to sell immaculately and you want it to be the greatest, selling console and beat PS3 and everything like that. If you wanted to do all of that, enticing people by saying, hey, you got all these exclusives on here for $19.99 a month, and you don't even have to download them. You can stream them straight to the console for $20 a month, and you have over 500 games when you include the PS4 collection, because right now it's like 450 or 430 or whatever it is. You have over 500 games, including the PS4 collection, for $20 a month. You tell a parent that, they'll lose their minds. You know what I'm saying? The only downside to that is if a parent says we don't have the bandwidth, because there's a lot of parents that don't.
Right.
Like we can't stream because we're bandwidth capped or whatever, which is the downside to that. Whereas Microsoft's thing is, you could download the game. The kids could download a game once a month or whatever, whatever it is if they're capped or whatever. But besides that, it's a big incentive on the Xbox side of it. Especially if Microsoft is able to get, they're probably not going to have launch titles on there because I think Phil's already said that. He don't think they'll do launch titles immediately, but he does want to get some of the smaller launch titles in there, like the Walking Deads and the Game of Thrones, the Telltale type titles, or the episodic games like Hitman, where you can get a free episode every month, a brand new game, a free episode every month with this service. And that's something that he's working on. So I just find it really interesting and just really crazy how people, how Microsoft is approaching it, how Sony's approaching it. But in the end, what really matters is that everybody has the opportunity to play these games. Am I for exclusives on consoles only? Yes. Do I think it's anti-consumer? No, because you're selling a product. I don't know why people all of a sudden think that, it's anti-consumer to keep something from somebody else. You have a product. If you're making games for that product, you want to sell your product. But now they're using PC as a way to get it out to everyone. So I don't mind that. If you want exclusives on every platform, then Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo need to come together, merge, make one super company, and make a platform that can play all the games. And the console war will be finally over. We will all be happy, and they will have the largest install base in the history of mankind. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the truth of it. Or you can buy a PC and a Switch and be happy, because that's the way everything is going at this point. So yeah, man, it's been a crazy journey for both Microsoft and PlayStation. And I heard that you can play that on PC and they may be bringing it to Mac, which would be even crazier if they bring PS Now to Mac. And before we finish up, here's another tidbit. Sony is making a game for HTC Vive. They're making a VR game for Vive. Now, I don't know why they're doing that. Why their VR studio would want to make a game for HTC Vive. They feel it's an opportunity to use, fresh or newer or more powerful technology or whatever it is. I don't know what that means. What I do know is that there will be a Sony game on Scorpio come this holiday season in the form of HTC Vive virtual reality, because HTC will be on Xbox Scorpio as a device that you can use, whereas PlayStation only uses PSVR unless Sony has opened up their platform to using other VR devices. Now, could that news be coming soon?
That would be very shocking. But that is something that Sony would do. Like, Sony is very weird in regards to like the stuff that they do. Like, remember last year when it came out and they're like, oh, HDR is now on the original PS4. And people were just like, what? Like, how?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how could you even do that?
Right.
But like, Sony always comes with like these crazy updates, like mid-gen to the console. And it would be shocking if they did that, but you know what I mean? It's all about competition at the end of the day. So if they open it up to HTC Vive, that would be a pretty big surprise. Pretty big announcement as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I personally don't care about the VR thing, but I mean, hey, that's what people want.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be crazy. That would absolutely be nuts to see that Sony logo pop up on a Xbox platform using HTC. I'm still kind of dumbfounded by this. I definitely want to get more information on this. I put it in. I got the news for our team. They haven't written it up yet. Hopefully, we'll have that tomorrow for you guys if you want to check it out on ticgn.com. Yeah, man. But that's it, man. That's it for the show. We will definitely be back next week of Thursday at 11 p.m. for the late show. Very appreciative of everybody stopping out. Make sure you leave us a thumbs up. If you enjoyed tonight's show, if you enjoyed the news or any of the content that we produce, we'd be greatly appreciated. Our network, we have shows every week and weekly, every day, shall I say. So on Mondays, you can catch the Multiverse, talking about multi-plat games, comics, and movies. You have Double XP will soon be popping up on here as pre-recorded episodes, and you can catch the debates. And by the way, shout out to Fame Entertainment. Fame will have Hip Hop Gamer on his podcast, on the Double XP podcast coming up. I'm going to hop on it because I got a few things to say to Hip Hop Gamer. We're going to go at it. We're going to debate some PlayStation, some Xbox stuff and go at it. But Double XP definitely be uploaded on here. Again, Tick Podcast on Thursdays. You have Trophy Life Podcast on Tuesdays. And then I will definitely try to get a Super Pod shout out at some point. And of course, Anchorman's Top Shelf. If you haven't seen his latest Top Shelf, please go check it out. It is called The Whitewashing of Iron Fist. Nothing draws views like race-related issues. This thing is hot. It has over probably 6,000 hits at this point. The comment section is the worst I've ever seen in Tick Podcast history. I don't want to touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. It's pretty crazy. But everything Anchor said, I kind of agree with. I'm all for superheroes being who they are, regardless of people want to be politically correct and change their race or change their color. Keep them the way they are. You want new heroes, make new heroes with ethnic backgrounds. That's how I feel. It's how I've always felt. Nothing will change with me because Superman is white. It's my favorite hero. I don't care about his color. I love that character. That's my guy. So I think most people also feel that way, but some people don't. Some people don't. Some people just have to fight and gripe about everything. So definitely check out that show when you get an opportunity, and we'll be back in the coming weeks. Now, before we end the show, we can do a quick, what time is it right now? We're about an hour in. If anybody's available, if you want to do any questions, we could do a quick 10-minute question show. Very quickly, a quick 10-minute Q&A. And I'm going to go ahead and end the show for the MP3 crowd because this will be the latest episode. If you want to catch us on MP3, all you have to do is go on iTunes or go to Google and Google TIC Podcast and then type in whatever device you're using, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Google Play, whether it's Windows. We're on multiple apps. And you can find us damn near anywhere. If you're around the world listening, you can find us on any pretty much app. Just search Tick Podcast. So that's pretty hot. And we got the Tick Network coming. We'll have all of these shows that we have on our network hitting that as well. So I'm your host, KLYX Kal-El with B Money 101 and Anchorman V. And we'll see you guys next week. And we're off this planet. Peace. All right. Listen, guys, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate everybody stopping out. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Beck. Thank you, Foul. Kelvin, thank you as well for Finest. Thank you, guys. Big shout out to Junkie. He was in earlier. Big shout out to Fame. Really appreciate those guys stopping in. Very supportive, man. It's very important that we're able to continue to produce quality content for the Xbox community. We know a lot of your heroes are falling off or leaving or not producing the way you guys want, but we'll continue to try to be a positive light for you guys in this chaos with Xbox and stuff like that. So yeah, man, if you got any questions, go ahead and leave those questions now. We will try to answer them to the best of our ability. We're going to try to knock it out in the next 10 minutes. So if you got them, go ahead and shoot them out right now before it gets too late. I want to address something that Beck had said, not Beck, Chris Beckton had said earlier. Do you guys think that Sony putting this device on HTC Vive is an attempt for them to try to merge technology, which the HTC Vive and the PlayStation VR device? And the reason why I say that is because Microsoft has put out some word that they're coming out with a mixed reality device that's actually more powerful than both HTC Vive's hardware and Oculus Rift and PSVR. which was supposed to be releasing on Scorpio? Is this their attempt to get more powerful?
I'm confused by the question. Are you asking whether or not?
What I'm asking is, do you think this is Sony's attempt to get in good with Vive so they can merge technology with PSVR and HTC Vive?
No. Because the problem with all of it is just that the issue is not the PSVR. The issue is the PlayStation 4. This has been the biggest problem with VR is its power. You need the power supporting it. And the problem is the power is not there to get really intensive and start making some really kick-ass games, like something that's like really intensive, full-fledged game. It's just not there right now. And them just like, oh yeah, we're gonna co-op the Vive won't do anything. It requires that they have better base hardware to work off of.
Right. B, what you think?
I mean, this could be one of those backdoor attempts for Sony to, try to get in good with HTC, and then, in a year or so, with some crazy announcement that they're official partners or something crazy. So, Sony's always up to something slick. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of watch them and see what they're doing. But like Anchor said, I mean, the console needs to be more powerful. So maybe they're already R&D, the next PlayStation or whatever, and that's something that they're taking a look at. Because I mean, the investment in PSVR has to be something crazy, and you have to imagine that they haven't seen that return in investment. So to be more powerful and technically have the best device, partnered with the best device that's available, is something that they could kind of leverage in the future. So it's a possibility.
It's funny that you say that. First of all, the Japanese are ninjas, so you can't trust them anyway. Okay, probably put HTC Vive's CEO in a genjutsu and just tricked them into giving them all the information. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, getting in good with HTC Vive. Look, Microsoft was about to have like 5 VR devices on Scorpio, like 5 or 6 VR devices. That's the power of Windows, baby. Giving you all this access, they're going to have like 4 devices from the PC market coming in at under $300 for the person who just wants a bottom barrel, cheap way to play VR. Then you got the high end stuff with Oculus and HTC Vive, and then whatever VR, their augmented reality device. That thing is going to be expensive. They're probably going to put it at $400 and stuff like that, maybe more. But that thing is going to be an arm and a leg without question if it's more powerful than both Oculus and HTC, and then having the ability to do both VR and augmented. It's just crazy. So yeah, I can understand them trying to get in good with HTC in that regard. I just don't know if that's the end game. All right, so the first question that we have, try to knock some out. D21 exclusive. What up, D? Thanks for stopping in, brother. He asks, do you think Xbox Scorpio will deviate from Xbox One name? On game cases, they can have a new name along with Xbox One on the game case, just like some Xbox 360 cases have Xbox One and Xbox 360.
All I can say is please don't call it the Xbox One Plus.
Please don't call it that. That's a terrible name.
I don't know if they could go like put another name on the box, because the 360 games already have Xbox One and Xbox 360 on them, correct? So and those games can still be played on the Scorpio, correct?
Yeah. They should be.
Yeah, I don't know, like if you would go put another name on a box. I mean, that could be a little bit confusing, but I mean, anything is possible.
I don't think the PlayStation doesn't do that. They don't put PS4 Pro on their boxes for their games.
So they say better with Pro on it.
Yeah, they might say something like that, or like better on Scorpio. Maybe they'll do that, or get 4K with Scorpio. or whatever.
Yeah.
If you pick up the game, they may do that. I doubt they actually change the name. I still believe that Xbox Scorpio will be Xbox One something. A lot of people were looking for Ultra. Yeah, everybody wants Ultra.
I believe Ultra. It sounds like the best wording they can use. Like you say, oh, it's Ultra. We're running in Ultra mode, Ultra 4K. It's
whatever you do. If they have any voice, they need to have the Killer Instinct person's voice.
Ultra combo. Yeah.
If like you
announce you're bundling it with announce that's all you gotta do. You just announce you're bundling it with a 4K TV for $1,000 both together. That writes itself.
That would be great.
Commercial.
Like it would be great if like they were like little chimes. Like when you put a game in and say 4K, it's like 4K Ultra. You know what I'm saying? one of those type of things. So I think that'd be pretty dope. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it would be pretty cool. Chris Beckton asks, do you think Scorpio will be $399 and also released in late August or early September? Oh man, listen. This console's not going to be $399. Anchor believes it's going to be $399
because Anchor with the bet.
He got the console fairies on his shoulder, man, telling him something crazy.
As a child, you have to understand he's a big baby and hard to handle. I think the console will be $499, $599. I believe the console will be $499. I don't think it's going to come out in August because they're shooting for holiday season. That's what they want to go for, the holiday season. That's where Microsoft make their money. Black Friday, Christmas, October. I think it'll come out around October. Or if anything,
November.
October, early November. Yeah, I don't see it coming out in August.
Just because I think they'll have Forza ready, and Forza typically comes out in September, so I think it'll probably be early to mid October.
Mid-October, Crackdown coming out in November. And then a lot of people think August because of Shadow or Mordor, because that's going to have, a Scorpio mode or it's going to be built for Scorpio. If Microsoft's going to launch a game, it's not going to be with a third-party game. They're going to launch a console, it's not going to be off of a third-party console. I'm a third-party title. It's going to be off of one of their titles to show, because they know their hardware better than anybody, and they're going to put their game on display. Their games on display. So they'll probably wait for their titles before they launch it with something else.
That 47 is going to be so beautiful, though, man.
It's going to be crazy. Foul Davikin, shout out to Foul. Foul says they need a higher resolution screen in the PSVR like 4K. I guess he's saying the 4K head-mounted device needs a 4K screen or to run in 4K. I don't even know if that's possible. Is that possible? Maybe that's what Microsoft is doing. 4K,
a bit much. Maybe 1440p.
Yo, what if Microsoft did their VR in 4K, and that's what they meant by high fidelity VR? Yo, if Microsoft does, oh my god, I couldn't even imagine. I know is
imagine the headset you would need.
The more I talk about
like Scorpio, that headset be ridiculous though, man. 4K
headset. You have to have two 4K sub-mini monitors in here.
What's crazy is that mixed reality device comes with no cameras, no wires.
That's cool.
That's insane. This is like it's completely hands-free. That's just fire. Elon Beck says certain talking points, mostly negative about Xbox One, have been ruined since 2013. Have been around since 2013. Do you feel that most sites, podcasters just do it for clicks, power now, exclusives, etc.? Obviously, I would think so. I think most fans do it for the hits and the clicks and stuff like that. That's without question. Definitely some websites do. You got to cater to the base that's going to make you money. You know what I'm saying? That's what people do. Drama generates comments and shares. If you don't agree something, you want all your friends to know that this person is a moron. You know what I'm saying? And you want them to chime in. And if someone agrees with you, they want to defend you, and they want their buddies to come in and defend you too. And that's why you get all these hits and people arguing, going back and forth for months. I literally watched it today with Anchorman's Top Shelf, because I get all of these comments that come across my laptop when a new comment hits. And these two guys are literally just going at it about this whole race thing with making Danny Rand Asian instead of having him as his original character as a white man who masters martial arts. It's a crazy thing. But the one thing I can say about Tick Podcast and what I really love about us is that we don't gravitate towards that. We've built everything around being about, positivity, real news, real facts, real logic, no BS, no stereotypical crap and stuff like that. So I'm very proud of that. And I think people respect us for it. And that's why we are where we are today. So very grateful for everyone who stops in, all the people that sub. We're at over 5,000 subs now, on our way to 6,000. It's been an incredible journey the last 2.5, almost 3 years. Let's see here. What time do we have right now? It's almost time to go. We'll do 2 more questions and then we'll head out. I'll try to get somebody that we didn't ask already. Kelvin Brandon asks, GDC 2017, PSVR outdated to compete with Microsoft. The new software tech doesn't favor PSVR. It's not really a question. I guess he was just making a post. Let me see if I can find it. That's
kind of the nature of tech, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You put it out, you're outdated in a year or so. Like, that's how it rolls.
Let me see. Okay, so let's see.
Wait, here's a good question. Do you, by Kelvin Brandon, do you think Destiny 2 will be marketed by Microsoft to woo PC gamers to Windows 10 and the Universal platform?
No, because Sony already has the marketing deal.
Have we heard that confirmed yet?
Dude, they already renewed the marketing deal for exclusivity on whatever new stuff is coming out.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, it's out there, dude. Google it.
I missed this.
Bro, there's no way they're giving up that marketing deal, son. There's no way. I mean, even if Destiny sold better, there's no way it's just going to flip like that. I'm pretty sure there's some type of contractual agreement for like 4 or 5 years to market Destiny. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to happen. Microsoft has their own deals in place. I don't see Destiny as one of them. I'm kind of disappointed in some of the deals that Microsoft lost, like a Mass Effect. Rockstar seems to be really favoring Sony with Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. If I'm Microsoft, I'm working with 2K. They already work with EA, so that's pretty good on their part. So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean they got to leverage the EA deal. When CD Projekt Red drops Cyberpunk 2077, we already know they're going to leverage the deal that they have with WB. So we see the Shadow of War, and when Cyberpunk drops, that'll be a pretty big title for them to leverage as far as the marketing deal. And they're tight with Bethesda, so they have those marketing rights as well. So they don't have a lot of the bigger names that most people talk about, but they definitely have some great partnerships with some of the bigger publishers that are out there.
Not to mention the best space-themed game this year. Right.
Oh boy, Jesus Christ!
And now we're actually going to play Mass Effect Andromeda. I can say that with confidence.
Very quickly, final question. Not really a question, but kind of a statement. Andrew Wilkins says, Xbox One is a failed brand. So this device is a new generation, most like a Steam machine for Windows 10. Do you guys think Xbox One is a failed brand?
No, not at all. I think, they definitely struggled out of the gate. But I mean, they bounced back. Look at the software numbers that they talked about. You know what I mean? Look at what Halo 5 did.
Right.
You know what I mean? Look at what the Forza series has done. You know what I mean? They cracked $1 billion. So I mean, it's not a failed brand. People are definitely out there buying games. They just don't have, the 40 million or 50 million install base that Sony does. But they're selling the Xbox One better than they sold the 360 at this point. Right. So I mean, and look at the accessories that they put out. You know what I mean? We out here spending $150 on Elite controllers. AI, You know what I mean? They have no problems over there, so
Right.
they good.
Yeah. Hank.
That's a tough question because I don't. Is Xbox a failed brand? No. Xbox still commands a good portion of the market share. It does have the recognizability. People know what Xbox is, no matter where you go. Like it as the brand, Xbox is not a failed one, but Xbox One, that's a pretty compelling argument actually to say it probably is a failed brand. In regards to, nobody refers to it in a positive tone as Xbox One.
Right.
And the Xbox One brand itself, it does not have that same kind of either. It didn't have the ring to it. It doesn't command the kind of market share we think it should. It just does not. I'm just arguing as a brand. I'm not saying the console or anything else like that. I'm just saying it doesn't have a positive connotation to it. And people aren't buying it because it's an Xbox One. Right. They buy it maybe because it's an Xbox or because it has games or something like that, but not just based on brand power. Like as opposed to the PS4, people have heard of PlayStation 4.
Right.
So, the PS4, I'm buying it because it's PS4. Like that I would argue that brand sells the PlayStation 4 more than anything else. Because people know what PlayStation 4 is. They've heard it, heard everyone else talking about it, and it has the market share. I would say that as a singular brand was dominant. And so, like I said, I think it's a tough question to narrow it down just to one product or like a mini brand.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I would say. I'm not entirely sold on it though.
I look at it from the perspective of, is Burger King or Wendy's a failed franchise? Is Samsung's failing because it's not number one over Apple? I mean, you have your own demographics. Yes, it's not at a place where I'm pretty sure they would want it to go. Thank you, Junkie. Have a great night. Appreciate you stopping in. I don't think it's at a place where they want it to go, but I do think that it's at a place where Microsoft doesn't see it as a failed brand. It's more successful than the original Xbox. Probably won't be as successful as the old Xbox 360. But with Scorpio in mind, Xbox One S, fresh library of new exclusives coming out soon. They have a compelling argument, especially with their services, with the Game Pass and things like that, to be very viable to a lot of people. And as the console gets cheaper and cheaper, it becomes more compelling to purchase. I don't think there's anything wrong with Xbox One as a console, just for the simple fact that it hasn't read a ring of death. It's probably their most successful product that hasn't had any issues. You have an ever-evolving operating system. They just constantly innovate with this console. Now, that may sound fanboyish in a way, but if you've been rocking with Xbox One from day one, if you had a console since the day it came out to now, you would see everything that most Xbox fans see and stuff like that. And that's not to say that PlayStation 4 isn't a fantastic product. I have a PlayStation 4, and it is a great product as well. But there's just something about Xbox and the way they've built the console, at least the operating system-wise, that really makes it a really great thing. I think Scorpio, if people are putting all their eggs into Scorpio to think that's going to make some type of comeback, it's not. It really isn't. For Microsoft, for them, generations are over. Every game is supposed to be backwards compatible until the older games can no longer work on the newer hardware, just because that's just how it does with PC over time. But right now, Xbox is Xbox, and they don't plan to, start fresh ever again. So for them, it doesn't matter. Xbox One will continue to sell for the next 10 years at this point, until you can no longer play games on Xbox One.
To clarify your analogy there about the Wendy's Burger King kind of thing, I mean, I look at it as like asking, like, is the Xbox One a failed brand in regards to like, okay, you're not comparing Wendy's to Burger King, you're comparing the Baconator versus the Whopper. It's like I'm comparing one product like as a sub brand underneath that. You're just comparing the name Baconator and the market presence it has with.
But the difference is, but here's the difference though. a failed generation can ruin a whole company. And that's really, you have to take that into account. The reason why people feel like Nintendo's about to go out of business and start making third-party titles is because their last 3 consoles have been kind of like flops. Like, we sold a ton of consoles, but guess what? Their software and their attach rates were terrible. People tend to forget that. The hardware, it doesn't matter if we sold 100 million consoles. If you don't have a 10 games for every console sold or whatever it is, attach rate, you're not really making money as a business because all your money's in software, not hardware. Hardware doesn't, hardware stops after a while and depreciates over time, but the games constantly come in. So that's why people always say software is so important, and things like that. You look at 360, why 360 was so successful and why people think that it was really the top brand last generation is because it had such an amazing attach rate. Literally, one of the highest selling things on the Wii was the Wii board because it came with almost every system. It sold as much as the platform itself, which was insane. So, but the attach rate for their games, they had a ton of shovelware. No one looks at the Wii as a successful console other than it just being the first thing to come out with motion and kind of capturing a spark, but the spark died out before the generation even ended. People still look at PlayStation and PS3 and Xbox 360 as the more successful consoles, even though they didn't sell as much as the Wii. And then this generation, the Wii U didn't do any better. It got surpassed by both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. It's just that PlayStation 4 has sold remarkably well. But Xbox One has been doing well as well, just not on the level of PlayStation because they're such a global brand. So if Microsoft can get it right with Scorpio and eventually that'll drop in price, people will pick Scorpio up. That will eventually be the normal console after who knows how long before they start working on the next one. And they have an opportunity to make Scorpio be the new Xbox, which is what the Xbox One S is right now. And if you get that console right, power-wise and price-wise, at some point over the next 5 to 6 years, people will gobble it up because it's a 4K machine that does 4K Blu-ray and 4K DVR, and it's got all these games and stuff. But it's all about software and making that hardware enticing to purchase. Microsoft has a good amount of software, not as much as PlayStation because of the Japanese market, but they have a good amount, and if they can continue to produce, if Phil sticks to his word and continues to produce games, then they'll be able, I think, to regain some of the people that they lost from the 360 era. And that's just that's how I look at it. So yeah, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. We really had a great show, a great Q&A. I don't want to keep it going too long. I want to I just want to answer this last question off the top of my head very quickly because he popped in at the last minute. It's a really good question. And then we're just going to head on out. But I want to thank everybody for stopping out and hanging with me, Anchor, and B. Leonardo S says, given Sataya's influence, how much more do you think Phil can do to maintain certain Xbox exclusives to stay that way? For example, Halo 6. Very quickly, is there anything Phil can do to keep Halo 6 exclusive to Xbox One?
Meaning like completely exclusive, like not coming to PC? Or
correct. Because Phil did say there are some games on Xbox that won't go to PC and some games on PC that won't go to Xbox.
I think Halo is probably the only game that you will not see fully playable on PC from a Microsoft standpoint. Even though Forza, like they have the Apex on there, I wouldn't be surprised if this year Forza 7 is a Play Anywhere title.
Doesn't hurt anything.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised with that. We know that, you know what I mean, the Sea of Thieves is going to be a Play Anywhere title. I wouldn't be surprised if Crackdown, is a Play Anywhere title. I think right now Halo is probably the only safe bet as far as a first party is concerned, where I couldn't see that game being on PC just because like they've gotten so close to putting Halo 5 on PC and they still haven't. You know what I mean? And that game it's 2 years old now. You know what I mean? If we're going into this holiday, it'll be 2 years old. So I think Halo is probably the only game that's safe.
Right. You don't think so, Anchor?
I don't know. I think the games that they choose to do play anywhere, especially their big online games, they kind of try to do crossplay at some point. And the issue with doing Halo in particular, there would be no way to manage that of doing crossplay because it's a first-person shooter.
Right.
And that would be such a problem to try and pull off. I'm not sure in that regard, because it's at least to make it a cross-playable game, as well as making it that kind of game. I think you guys are right, though. That might be the only game that won't go completely play anywhere because of that one problem.
Right.
But like Gears of War, it's like, it's not like it's marginal, or they limit it to co-op. But
yeah, I don't know, man. I think Halo's gonna go. I really do. I think Halo's gonna go. I think every game is gonna go. I don't see a reason why it shouldn't. Honestly, I mean, I get the whole thing about not doing, cross-play because of first-person shooter aspect, but they already did it with Gears. Eventually, I'm pretty sure they will do it with Forza. I just don't see why. Any PC gamer will say the same thing. What type of excuse could Microsoft come up with to not put their games on PC? Is it something that I want? Hell no, I don't want that to happen. Clearly, I want the exclusives to stay exclusive. But at the end of the day, that's just pretty much what's going to wind up happening, I think. And I think Halo 6 will end up on there. If it doesn't, though, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. I think you have to question what is Microsoft doing, because if you're going to keep Halo, you should have kept a lot of other exclusives on your Xbox as well. Like if it's a third-party exclusive, I don't mind that. But if you got first party, the first party should stay on the console if you're going to do it that way. That's how I feel about it. Because honestly, a lot of the games that come out on PC barely sell anyway. They're not even knocking that like Xbox itself out of the park when it comes to the sales of the games. The majority, a good 85 to 90% of those sales come from Xbox already. So, I'm sure 10% does something because we got the numbers back and Microsoft software sales have increased pretty well. It actually shows that they have made an impact by doing that, with hardware obviously dropping down for whatever reason, because I guess a lot of people are waiting for Scorpio at this point. But, at the same time, I don't see why they wouldn't put it on there. And I don't think with Satya being in charge, I don't think that will change anytime soon. As a business, I think it keeps the shareholders happy that whatever they're investing in, they'll get a return of that investment. And the division is in the black and not the red. The last thing they want, the last two generations, is to be in a red, one with Red Ring of Death and the other one being kind of a not dead generation when the Xbox first came out, but just not selling as well as PS2 for a host of reasons. I really don't blame Xbox for that at all. I really don't. But there's a number of reasons why I didn't sell as well. But it still was a great console, still had a lot of great games on it and stuff like that at the end of the day. So, I don't see that happening. So that's it, man. Listen, thank everybody for stopping out. Whether you love Tick, whether you don't, please give us a thumbs up. 32 people still in here watching. Greatly appreciate your support as always. And definitely tune in next week once again for another episode of Tick Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox at 11 p.m. And if you're a PlayStation fan, make sure you check out Trophy Life Podcast on Tuesday with Nick and his team. And we actually have an interview coming up with those guys. I can't remember what the dev is, but you should check it out. It should be coming up pretty soon. Those guys at the interview with a PlayStation dev. Talk about some PlayStation games. So that'll be pretty cool. Should be dropping sometime this week. So I'm your host once again, KORXKL, the last son of Planet Xbox, with my team B Money 101 and Anchorman V, and we are off this planet. You guys have a great night. Peace.